You're listening to Autumn on the Air, the weekly podcast that brings you conversations about the impact of research commercialization and the people who make it happen. Join us for interviews with patent and licensing professionals, innovators, entrepreneurs, and tech transfer leaders on the issues and trends that matter most. Keep listening for an inside track on the people, IP policies, and politics changing our world.
Welcome to Autumn on the Air. Today our guest is Karen Presley, the Deputy Director of the Office of Research and Technology Applications at the National Security Agency. With a vast background in both public and private sector, Karen leads a team of technology transfer professionals at the NSA. Karen also sits on the board of the Federal Laboratory Consortium, or FLC, a nationwide network of federal laboratories and research centers dedicated to promoting technology transfer and partnerships with industry, academia, nonprofits, and state and local governments. Welcome, Karen. I'm so excited to have you here on the air.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm really excited about talking about all things T2.
Yes, definitely. And we have a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm curious, Karen, can you tell us a little bit about your role at the National Security Agency, as well as your experience working in tech transfer?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I would say my first unintentional exposure to tech transfer was at the United States Patent and Trademark Office, which first taught me about IP and the importance of protecting your intellectual property. And then I went from there working at the FBI as an electrical engineer. And I actually was an innovator. At the time, I didn't realize that's what I was, but I created inventions or surveillance devices for FBI agents. And so that was like my first real crash course in developing federally funded technologies and transitioning it into operational use. So from there, I worked a few government contracts as a consultant and then transitioned into law. As an IP attorney, worked for law firms. And so I protected intellectual property from a different angle as opposed to at the USPTO. And I actually from there stumbled into actual tech transfer, working in a federal lab as a tech transfer professional. And so worked as a contractor doing tech transfer for a few federal labs. And then I ended up at NSA as a civilian. And I've been there for about 10 years now. And at NSA, I serve as the deputy director of the office, and I lead a group of amazing tech transfer professionals. And, we basically were, the jack of all trades. We wear many hats. I develop, negotiate T2 agreements along with the team, in addition to other duties assigned. We work very closely with agency innovators, creating partnerships with academia, nonprofits, other industry partners. Responsible for creating a lot of different programs to help enable transferring IP, including we developed the open source software process for NSA. And most notably, one of a key project that we're really been focused on lately is a program which will help to increase diversity within the agency. And, this team is just an amazing team. I've been part of the team. We won a Lindstedt Award, actually George Lindstedt Award. Through our work, as well as a few Excellence in Federal Tech Transfer Awards for licensing deals.
Well, I do have to say, Karen, you have had an amazing career to date, starting off at the patent office, going to the FBI and becoming an inventor, and then doing contracts, and then becoming an IP attorney and working in a law firm, and now doing all that you're doing in tech transfer. So absolutely fascinating background. And so I'm curious for you, now that you've spent so much time in tech transfer, what would you say, having been, in the government, out of the government, back in the government, some of the biggest challenges are that tech transfer professionals face in the government space?
Oh, wow. Where do I start? I would definitely say it's different. But this question, it actually reminds me of a post I saw by Felicia Hatcher. She's the CEO of Black Ambition. And she spoke of this conversation that she had with someone who posed the question, who are you uninterrupted? Very profound to me at the time. And she meant by that, like, at every intersection of your life, the light was only green, meaning there was no yellow, there was no red. Like, what would your life look like? And she said, you first have to ask yourself, like, what interrupted means and how do you carry that interruption into meetings or into your life? And so I'm going to land this plane, but So I'll just go to some of the challenges, basically, or interruptions, if you will, or offices faced or tech transfer offices faced are, limited budgets, usually a small team. And we're definitely a small team within a very large mission oriented agency. And so as you can imagine, that's a very challenge. That's a challenge because, again, we still are tasked with creating or developing these partnerships for the entire agency. So it's not always, easy, especially, we also have the task of creating partnerships and monetizing intellectual property. Limited budgets that definitely it's challenging. And, we have, very broad authorities in the tech transfer lane, which can be a gift or a curse because based on the interpretation of your respective agency or your office of general counsel, even though the legislation or the authorities are broad, if it's not explicitly stated, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a go for you when you're trying to create something novel. And of course, just the government red tape and the hurdles, just in order to get acceptance, because again, a lot of the focus for these labs are not tech transfer. The focus is mission. And we help to enable mission through partnerships. So it's not always, just a hard and fast yes when you're trying to create something or try to demonstrate the value of tech transfer or why we exist and who we are. So, going back to Felicia's question, I think is very relevant because, in the field of tech transfer and especially in the intelligence community, because, of course, like uninterrupted, the possibilities would be endless. If all folks interpreted the laws and the broad legislation and tech transfer laws that we have, if they interpret them to give us the bandwidth and the ability to do everything, that would be amazing. But like bringing the interrupted or the challenges that I previously noted, it necessarily requires resilience and at times the audacity to be bold enough to create like novel ways to engage and to enable our jobs.
Yeah, I love that answer. And I, even in our own personal lives, if you think about if you just had one day that was uninterrupted, all that you could get done. So it's an interesting, question and thought process to go through. And so, Karen, I wanted to follow up on that and ask you, can you tell us a little bit about how the NSA approaches technology transfer and what perhaps makes it unique compared to other government agencies?
Sure. Yeah. So we basically function, like most offices. But I think what makes us the most unique, at least from my perspective, and what I've witnessed, having worked at a few other labs, is that we have the authority in our office. Our director, the order director, she has authority to sign agreements on behalf of NSA. And though that may not really sound hugely significant, when you think about putting these partnerships in place and just again the inherent challenges it takes to do that, and then get it through your legal reviews, then you would have to go up some type of chain of command to get it signed. Oh my goodness, tack on months. But she has authority once we go through our normal checks and balances to sign it right then and there. So that is huge, and I think that is unique. I have not seen another order office, at least that I've worked in, that has that has delegated that authority down to the order director. And I'd say we also have a very good working relationship with our Office of General Counsel. Again, this is just based on my experience. I've yet to see where, we have templates, of course, and everything has to go through a legal review. But our Office of General Counsel, I guess through the years, we develop a rapport where we can, for the most part, draft the agreements and those things that they have determined to be legally sufficient. They give us the flexibility to be able to negotiate those things on their behalf. Of course, new topics that are brought up, by industry partners or considerations that want to change our templates, for example, we still run it past. But we have that wonderful relationship, working relationship, and professional rapport where we kind of work as a team. And they view us, I think, as partners and I think it helps them because they trust us to not go off and agree to something without at least running it past them or that has not been seen by them. And to that end, they also have no problem being the bad guy for us. So, if there's something that just is a no, we try to avoid, just putting it off on them, but they have no problem for saying, well, our OGC says no, and they will definitely, support us and back us up with that. And then, of course, just, working in the intelligence community, working with technologies, it's kind of cool and unique that knowing that most of them are developed for some classified mission use, but we have unclassified applications. And so I would say that's pretty unique, at least within our agency.
Yeah, I would imagine the technologies that come across your desk and your team's desk must be absolutely fascinating. And so I would think that not only the technology that's coming across your desk is fascinating, but some of the programs that you have as well are really cutting edge and kind of innovative. So I wanted to ask you about one of those programs, and that's the Minority Serving Institution Working Group CRADA program. And I was wondering if you could tell us how that program allows NSA to engage with minority serving institutions as well as historically Black colleges and universities.
Sure. Yeah. So this was an effort, and just to kind of to give a little definition about what we mean by minority serving institutions or MSIs, we took that definition straight from the Higher Education Act, and that includes the 7 categories that they list in that act. So that includes, like I said, HBCUs. HSIs or Hispanic serving institutions, tribal colleges or university, Alaska Native serving institutions, your predominantly Black institutions, your Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander serving institutions, and your Native American serving non-tribal institutions. So all of those fit within that definition when we talk about MSIs. And so the origin of the MSI CRADA, it actually started with a program we called Spark, where we reached out to universities and specifically MBA schools within universities to do commercial assessments. And we found through a series of customer discovery, and just conversations basically with universities that we got the best bang for our buck when we targeted universities that had like the I-Core methodology embedded within their curriculum or their lean startup, because that would actually give us a good roadmap of partners that we could talk to or best use cases for our technologies. From there, we realized that a lot of universities that we were actually naturally able to align with and plug our technologies in, there was no representation within HBCUs. And so we intentionally started to reach out to more HBCUs to see, okay, how can we, incorporate or include them in this wonderful collaboration? Because again, it's great to embed it within a curriculum and to actually do an assessment of an actual federally funded technology. How cool is that? From having additional discussions, this is just customer discovery is just amazing. Additional discussions, yeah, and it's just talking to people. I mean, it's one thing to have an idea and you think it's great, but when you actually talk to folks, and that's really the whole lean startup methodology, is just finding out. But no, this is exactly what people need or people can use. We found that while that was wonderful, it is even better if we can offer opportunities for more substantive research. And I think this, again, the impetus behind, pivoting, if you will, we pivot again and saying, okay, commercial assessments are great, just having conversations and noticing that there was a large disparity between like the federal dollars, R&D dollars that were awarded to your MSIs versus non-MSIs. And, so we asked ourselves, like, how could we help to provide more opportunities? And so it pivoted to a CRADA, a Cooperative Research and Development Agreement, which is allows government agencies to actually conduct research and development with nonprofits, academia, and industry partners. And so we felt that this would be a more substantive engagement. It would hopefully, it's not going to solve all problems, but if we can at least, we thought if we can at least provide research opportunities that can make these universities a little more competitive, give them a little more exposure to working on government mission problem sets. I mean, I think that would definitely, help to build capacity within these organizations. So the CRADA is written very broadly, and we have 3 main topic areas. And these were provided by a technical director at NSA that NSA cares about. So it's Internet of Things, National Cybersecurity Posture, and Cyber Analysis Research, and Secure Composition and System Science Research. So basically cyber topics, IoT, and they're all, it's very broadly written. And so as long as you can check the box as being an MSI and you can demonstrate capacity and capabilities, or in at least one of these topic areas, you're able to engage and work on NSA problem sets. And to date, we have 13 signed and we have 11 pending. So it's definitely growing. And again, the goal is to demonstrate impact and the research capabilities that come out of these institutions that may sometimes be often overlooked.
And that's fascinating. And how long do the CRADAs normally last?
3 to 5 years. Since this is a working group and the goal again is to just collaborate, individually as well as have the working group collaborate together. We set this for 5 years to provide, enough time to kind of demonstrate and to work on multiple topics. But we've also had some, ranging from 3 years, starting at 3 years.
So, Karen, I wanted to follow up and ask you, you mentioned some specific research areas like the Internet of Things research, national cybersecurity posture and cyber analysis research, and secure composition and system science research. So I wanted to ask you, how are the universities approaching this research?
Absolutely. Given that the CRADA is a very flexible mechanism, different universities have taken different approaches. For example, some universities have built prototypes for intellectual property or patented technologies in our patent catalog, our NSA patent catalog. We've also had some students to work directly on NSA mission problem sets. And so this is like one-on-one with an NSA researcher and faculty and students. Some examples of that include we have worked on vehicle vulnerability using some of our open source software tools. We've had some students work on image recognition projects, others are quantum entropy projects. So it'll be the individual research that works with a group of students on specific topics. One of the most recent ways that we are working to help provide a scalable mechanism and bring a curriculum into this collaboration is we have all been trained to be hacking for educators. And so Common Mission Project is a nonprofit that actually trains university professors, faculties, to teach this methodology. It's like the Lean Startup methodology on how to deconstruct a mission problem set. So our thought is, in addition to the multiple ways that folks can engage, we're providing yet another vehicle. So we plan to teach it, the ORDA office plan to teach it to the respective universities, provide NSA challenge problems. And at the end, they start with a problem and they will help to provide actually not only a solution, but a more specific problem that NSA may or may not have considered when they proposed the challenge. We're hoping to actually launch a pilot this summer, July 10th, to be the first kickoff. But again, this will be offered to all our MSI partners. And we're teaching the first few versions of it. The goal is to have the individual universities adopt it as their own, to create their own class and to empower them to use this and this is something that they can take with them, not just for government service, but these are tools and a methodology that they can apply throughout just in industry or throughout their careers.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing program. And as you mentioned, not only does the CRADA benefit the university, it also benefits its students, but also NSA, because as you mentioned, as a result of this CRADA, you might also learn about a problem that NSA hadn't appreciated. So I was wondering, Karen, can you give us some other examples of some benefits both to NSA and its partnering universities in terms of the research and development opportunities?
Though the CRADA is not a recruiting tool, I would say a side benefit is we get exposure and access to a large or a diverse pool of students that may be, candidates to work at NSA, for example. And it also gives us the opportunity to work with faculty because the CRADA is about expanding and broadening our respective areas of expertise and research topics. By working under this CRADA and working on these problem sets with students, we, again, indirectly have access to faculty members that may be able to share their expertise and create, robust tools or techniques that, we can benefit from individually and together. And it also makes the universities more competitive because by virtue of working under the collaboration, this can be definitely a part of their research capabilities to be included in grants. For example, I know that the National Science Foundation, they have several ICOR grants. And because this is a government and academic collaboration, this counts toward whatever those requirements are to receive NSF funding, and not just NSF grants, but just grants in general.
And I would imagine, Karen, for those students that, you work with through this program, it must be pretty cool and pretty neat for them to get a chance to work with NSA.
Yeah, absolutely. I recall there was a group of students that worked out of Fayetteville State and Winston-Salem State University, and the research director actually came down and they presented out as a part of this symposium that our laboratory for analytic sciences has, and they were just in awe. I mean, I heard the tale was told that the research director was like a celebrity because, I guess when you work in the intelligence community, you're kind of used to it.
Exactly.
But to say that, oh my goodness, I got to meet so-and-so from NSA and take a picture, it was, they were really excited. And, we've also learned that, a lot of students may not have considered, government or an intelligence community as a career path or career choice for whatever reason. And, a lot of students have actually said that, man, this CRADA gave them that insight and inspired them, or whatever reason that they never considered it is now on their radar for sure.
That's really incredible. And it's, obvious that this CRADA provides a great opportunity for hands-on learning. So I wanted to ask, what kind of impact do you hope that the MSI Working Group CRADA program will have on the next generation of technology transfer and innovation, especially in that field of cybersecurity?
The goal is just to have to build and enhance core competencies with students, faculty, and within the university, which will ultimately help to build capacity for these universities and just make them overall more competitive. And just getting students exposure to working in the intelligence community, working on government problem sets, teaching them methodologies that they can apply in government service careers or industry or just in life in general. And getting exposed to, commercializing federal technologies and what it means to protect your innovation. And just overall, just building this ecosystem of partnerships, this ecosystem with industry, nonprofit, and academia that we can all work together and collaborate on mission problem sets and solve challenges of, within the government.
So, Karen, as the podcast comes to a close, I wanted to ask you, how can industry leaders and technology transfer professionals collaborate with the NSA and universities to foster more partnerships like the MSI Working Group CRADA program and help accelerate the pace of innovation in the cybersecurity field?
Well, first and foremost, I say all are welcome. I've had a few agencies and even industry partners, wanting to join the collaboration, which is 100% allowable. I've also offered, I'm open to sharing our templates because I said there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And so if they can take my template and plug it into whatever they're doing, they can have at it. Like I said, we're creating this ecosystem and growing a network. It's not my network. I think, it can benefit all. And so if there's any way, I give them the framework, what I've done, and I say, plug in to wherever you can. My goal is to align within whatever the respective missions are of my industry partners, my government partners, and just tell me how I can help make it fit and to expand this, as broadly as possible.
Karen, this has been a really fascinating discussion. So thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to me about these really important initiatives. I'm really excited to see where these programs are going to go and the difference they're going to make in the tech transfer community.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate that. And it's definitely been my honor. Thank you. Thank you again for your time and interest.
Thanks for listening to Autumn on the Air with Lisa Mueller. Get social with us and share your thoughts. You can tweet us at AUTM or visit us online at AUTM.net. We'll be back next week on the air. Be sure to join us.
New to tech transfer or a seasoned pro? Autumn is the global member organization for tech transfer and is here to help you get connected, get smart, and get ahead. Whether you work in academia, research, government, business development, corporate engagement, or startups, Autumn is dedicated to supporting you through education, advocacy, networking, and promotion. Join and you'll receive 20 free live webinars, as well as meaningful discounts on meetings and courses, insider access to a vast network of colleagues to help you through challenges, and align on new technologies and the university decision makers who license them. Membership is open for 2023. Join us.